suppose so. I'm
You're
gonna do
suppose
this
so.
all walking back and pacing back and forth outside in the 90-degree
You're
heat
not gonna be taking
after I
notes?
just
How
took
do
a
I know you're
shot.
gonna track my arguments?
What?
Are you gonna take notes?
No.
So how do I know that you're gonna track my arguments?
I'll remember them.
We'll see. Okay. Um, Landon, are you gonna record? Okay. Judges, are you guys ready?
Most.
Yep.
Okay. Let me put
Yeah, I'm good.
a timer up. Okay. And start when you're ready. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, hold on a second. All right. So today I'm going to be arguing for a
Wait,
form
wait.
of
Sorry, let me read the topic for everyone. I forgot to do that. Okay.
womp womp.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to read the topic. The topic is IQ testing should be required for voting in the sense that if your IQ test is too low, you can't vote. I'm not hosting Shiny, I'm just timing. Where did Kay go? There we go. You're good. Okay, now you can go.
Okay, today I'm arguing for a form of epistocracy. Epistocrats generally argue as follows. First, they claim that the electorate under a democracy is systematically ignorant, misinformed, mistaken, or irrational about politics. Second, they claim, as a result, the electorate as a whole tends to advocate and vote for bad, or at least suboptimal policies. Policies they would not favor if they were better informed or more rational. They deny that the crowd generally has wisdom or that knowledge is an emergent feature of collective democratic decision making. Third, they claim that politicians and other leaders, to a significant degree, cater to the misinformed electorate. That is, that the government has sufficiently high risk of implementing the bad policies the electorate prefers. Fourth, epistocrats generally deny that epistocrats generally deny that democracy is intrinsically just. That is, they reject the view that democracy is just as an end to itself, regardless of its consequences or how well it tends to perform. So what I'm talking about here in the latter part is basically two types of value: instrumental and symbolic value. For instrumental value, you can think of it as like a hammer. A hammer has instrumental value. You use it to hammer in a nail. Symbolic value, you could think of it like a painting. Paintings have symbolic value. They represent, some sort of emotion, for example, right? You can defend democracy in these two different ways. Instrumental, as in it is better than the alternatives, and symbolic, as in it is just in some way, or it is moral in some way. That is what we ought to do. I'll be focusing on the former argument because I feel like that's the more reasonable thing to discuss because it's more of a policy issue. So if we're talking about the instrumental value of democracy, I want to point out how ignorant and misinformed voters tend to be. So here are a few examples. During election years, most citizens cannot identify any congressional candidate in their district. Citizens generally don't know which party controls Congress. Americans vastly overestimate how much money is spent on foreign aid, and many of them mistakenly believe that we can significantly reduce the budget deficit by cutting foreign aid. 73% of Americans do not understand what the Cold War was about. Most Americans do not even roughly know how much is spent on Social Security or how much of the federal budget it takes up. 40% of Americans do not know whom the United States fought in World War II. And I can go over tons and tons of different things like this that demonstrate that voters are incredibly misinformed. Now, as for the IQ test, there are different forms of epistocracy. For example, Plato advocated for having a philosopher king, so a monarch who is ruling by knowledge. That's what epistocracy means, rule by knowledge or rule by the knowledgeable. But you can also have a system where you have people go through some sort of civics test to demonstrate they know how the government works. But what I'm advocating for is a third option where you're just looking at their general intelligence. Now, I believe the first system is kind of self-evident why it is not a good one. You don't really have philosopher kings. You don't have these individuals who are just geniuses on every topic that you can also trust to have virtually absolute power. The second one tends to be pretty good, but I think it is much easier to create bias in civics tests. And not only that, but just because you know how the government works doesn't mean you are going to make the moral or instrumental decision. So I'm going to be defending the third one because people who are more intelligent tend to make better decisions. They tend to support better things, things that are more instrumental and things that are more just. People who are score lower on IQ tests tend to have more biases. They tend to be more dogmatic. They tend to support ethno-nationalism more. And people who have higher intelligence tend to know more about general topics like economics or how the government works. And they also tend to oppose things like ethno-nationalism, authoritarianism, and being dogmatic. So that's pretty much my opening statement.
Let me just finish writing that sentence. And also, Detroyer, can you verify the guy in verification because he wants to watch, or someone? Hold on. Great. Okay. My opening statement's just gonna be my arguments. I'll do rebuttals in my second speech. Okay. I'm gonna start the time on my first word. In this debate, Ben has three burdens of proof. First, he has to prove that IQ testing as a voter requirement would align with American values because it's happening in America. Second, he has to prove that IQ is a good gauge for political education. And third, he has to provide unique solvency. If he doesn't do these three things, he doesn't win the debate. Let's move on to my first argument. First, IQ testing for voting goes against democratic principles. And we'll talk about why that's a bad thing on my second speech, but let's establish that it happens first. Implementing IQ as a requirement for voting would directly violate the principles of the U.S. Constitution and undermine the core democratic values it enshrines. The 14th Amendment of the Constitution guarantees equal protection under the law, stating that no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Using IQ tests to restrict voting rights would blatantly discriminate against certain segments of the population, denying them their fundamental right to political representation. Additionally, the 15th Amendment prohibits the denial or abridgment of rights to vote based on the basis of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Since IQ tests have been repeatedly shown to be biased against racial minorities, which I'll prove in a second, and those from disadvantaged socioeconomic backgrounds, such a policy would effectively disenfranchise these communities in violation of the 15th Amendment. Ben has to prove why violating both of these amendments would be a good thing. But let's move on to my second argument. IQ tests disproportionately affect minorities. According to the American Psychological Association, IQ tests are heavily influenced by socioeconomic and cultural factors and do not accurately measure an individual's true cognitive abilities or potential. Our research has found, according to the American Psychological Association, that factors like education, access to resources, and exposure to certain cultural norms can significantly impact IQ test scores, often disadvantaging marginalized communities and those from low-income backgrounds. The Brennan Center for Justice corroborates that restricting voting rights based on IQ tests would disproportionately disenfranchise minority and low-income citizens, undermining the democratic principle of equal representation. But let's analyze this deeper. Why does it negatively impact minority communities? There are three reasons. First is because the IQ test itself is culturally biased. IQ tests are criticized for reflecting a narrow, Western-centric view of intelligence that fails to account for the diversity of cognitive abilities and problem-solving skills across different cultures. According to W.W. Norton & Co., test questions and format of the IQ often assume familiarity with dominant cultural norms, vocabulary, and educational experiences that are less accessible accessible to marginalized groups. This puts minority individuals, especially those from immigrant or disadvantaged backgrounds, at an inherent disadvantage when taking these tests. But second is malnutrition. According to the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, in low-income communities, which are disproportionately home to racial and ethnic minorities, there is often a lack of access to nutritious foods. Malnutrition and deficiencies in key nutrients impair brain function and lead to lower IQ scores. But finally, pollution. According to Lancet Neurology, similarly, exposure to environmental pollutants like lead, air pollution, and toxic chemicals is more prevalent in economically disadvantaged neighborhoods. Mounting research indicates that such pollutants can negatively impact cognitive development, particularly in children, leading to reduced IQ and other neurodevelopmental issues. This further compounds the challenges faced by marginalized communities when it comes to performing well on IQ tests, which means Ben has to prove that marginalizing communities, disadvantaged communities, would be a good thing. But if you still don't get it, think back to literacy tests from the 1900s as a voting requirement, which were banned under the 15th Amendment for the very same reasons. Or think back to before the 19th Amendment, when women were considered too unintelligent to vote. But finally, my third contention is that IQ testing does not accurately portray political engagement anyway. While IQ tests may provide some insight into an individual's cognitive abilities, they do not accurately reflect a person's capacity for political engagement and decision making. Voting is a complex process that involves a range of skills beyond just intelligence, such as understanding policy issues, navigating the electoral system, and exercising one's civic duty. According to Princeton University Press, IQ is a poor predictor of one's ability to make informed decisions or engage with complex political issues. Many factors, including education, access to information, personal experiences, and cultural background, play a significant role in shaping a person's political awareness and engagement. For example, a person with a high IQ can vote without knowing anything about the political climate. Conversely, an individual with a lower IQ score could still be highly engaged in their community, knowledgeable about local and national issues, and be able to make thoughtful choices at the ballot box. I'll make this very clear. If we are not holding high IQ people to the standard of making informed votes, why are we using this as a justification to limit low IQ people from making votes? But if you don't believe me, believe Mitchell-Hamlin Law Review, which states that people with diminished mental capacity recognize their impact their elective representatives have on the issues they care about and use that in making determinations on who to vote for. The foundation of principle of one person, one vote is a cornerstone of American democracy, ensuring that all citizens have an equal say in the political process. Restricting voting based on IQ scores would undermine this democratic ideal, which Ben hasn't proved yet why democracy is bad, concentrating the power in the hands of the wealthy and privileged while silencing the voices of marginalized groups. I'll end my time there. We can start cross.
All right.
Great.
Cool.
So you're starting
go
with questions. So I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes. Ask me whatever questions.
I'm starting with questions.
Yeah, because you went first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So, I mean, it seems as though you're defending this from a purely symbolic view because you didn't really point to anything that would indicate democracy has instrumental value or that epistocracy doesn't have instrumental value. Is that your basic defense? It's just symbolic?
Yeah, so it's multiple things. I would say it's both symbolic and instrumental insofar as I would say restricting people off of IQ doesn't make sense because we're not holding high IQ people to the standard of making informed votes anyway. I would say I've proven that low IQ people can still make informed votes. But second, I would say you haven't really done a good job of proving epistocracy anyway, so it goes both ways.
Okay, so you wouldn't say that the fact that voters are extremely misinformed generally is not a problem with democracy.
Yeah, so I would say voters being disinformed has nothing to do with the IQ because I told you that a high IQ person can still be misinformed.
Yeah, but that's not the argument. The argument isn't that they can't be misinformed or can't be disinformed. The argument is that as a generality, they are going to have better ideas. They are going to have better stances, better justifications for what they're doing. And the empirical evidence for that is overwhelming. It's indisputable. Somebody would be insane, crazy, maybe even low IQ to argue against it. So, I mean, yeah, I don't see how anybody could just say, well, since higher IQ people aren't perfect, that means we can't rely on higher IQ people to do better than lower IQ
Yeah,
people.
that's not what I said.
Okay, so what did you say then?
Yeah, so what I said was we're not holding high IQ people to the standard of making informed votes, right? All we're doing is making sure that they're cognitively intelligent. So, like, for example, a low IQ person, I give you three different sources that say that someone with diminished mental capacity can still make an informed vote. So I don't see why like having an IQ test would change anything. I didn't say like anything about how high IQ people aren't perfect. I think we could both agree with that.
Okay. So if say so white people and richer white people specifically vote more on average. They're more active voters when compared to poor black people. But if you could wave a magic wand and cause every single African American in the country who is eligible to vote to go out and vote on election day, but if you did so, they would all vote for Hitler number two, Hitler 2.0, and then Hitler 2.0 would come into office, would you say it is justified to wave that magic wand?
Yeah, so I would say two things. I would say that hypothetical is completely absurd. An entire group of people like would not just automatically vote for one person. But second, if you're going to say like a justification that like black people shouldn't vote because they'll vote for Hitler, I would say that you're putting your own implicit bias into this thing. And the whole point
Right.
is to be
That's not what I said though. I was asking you a
okay.
question to test your consistency. I was trying to see
Yeah,
if
I
you
just
value
answered
the
your question.
symbolic more than the instrumental, right? And you didn't answer. You don't know. You can't answer the question because I mean it
Okay,
would
so
severely
why don't you
weaken
repeat
your
the
argument
question so
on
I
one
can give you
side.
an answer without you like inferring that I
Yeah,
can't answer?
I was not saying that black people would vote for Hitler. I mean, although I would point out that black voters in America do support ethno nationalism more than white voters. That is true.
Can you give me a source for
But
that?
yeah, I'll do it in a little bit. Um,
Okay.
but what I was asking is if you support the symbolic more than the instrumental, right? So in this hypothetical, if they are able to vote, that would be your symbolic. Oh, we get our demographics, we get our equality, whatever, whatever. But you get a tyrant. You get somebody who might kill other people or whatever, right? It's a test. It's a hypothetical. I don't see how it's that difficult to understand.
Yeah, so I have two responses. First, I think I reject the hypothetical because it does not have any being like in reality. You're presupposing, right, that like a minority group of people would all vote for the same person. Until you give me the source, I believe you that you're going to give me one, but until you give me the source, you're just jumping to conclusions.
Okay, I didn't say they would all vote for one person, but all right, cool. Um, so if you had two societies, in the first one, everyone could vote other than black people. And in the second one, everyone can vote, no matter their race, skin, or whatever. In the first one, if people generally had better lives, and let's say even there's less racism socially, even though you have this institutionalized racism, right? There's less racism socially. People tend to get along. There's high social trust. But in the second society, there's less social trust. People tend to not get along, and people tend to vote for bad
That's time.
politicians and bad policies. Would you say the first one is better than the
Time.
second one, or vice versa?
That's time.
Vice versa.
Yeah, I can't answer because it's out of time.
Okay.
Um, yeah, if we had more time, I would answer. So now is my turn to ask questions. I'll start the timer now. Can you please give me the analysis on how having high IQ guarantees political education?
It doesn't. I never said it does.
Okay, so if high IQ doesn't guarantee political education, then why does it matter?
Because it's generally going to indicate more political education, more economic education, more social education, more education, and more intelligence in literally every area of life. I could give you
Okay, can you do me a
actually
favor?
several.
Yeah, I get
Sure.
it. So what does the IQ do? What does it measure?
It measures general intelligence.
Yeah, what does that mean, general intelligence?
Um, Actually, I have a specific definition for you right here. Intelligence is a very general mental. Wait, sorry, I was reading the wrong one. Intelligence is a very general mental capability that, among other things, involves the ability to reason, plan, solve problems, think abstractly, comprehend complex ideas, learn quickly, and learn from experience.
Right. So
That's the
you
academic
think
definition.
that you have to be like a genius to understand like certain political policies?
No, I didn't say that.
I'm asking you, do you think so?
No.
Right. So if you don't have to be a genius to understand political policies, then I don't see a reason why IQ would be a good gauge for that.
But would a genius not generally understand them more? I mean, right?
Yeah, so it's not a matter of whether they understand it more. Like you'd have to prove to me
No,
that
yes, it
geniuses.
is because
Let
this
me
is my
finish.
defense
Let
of.
me finish. You'd have to also prove to me that in general, people with a high IQ would want to go out and educate themselves anyway. I could just assert that people with a high IQ have better things to do and won't care about voting.
Well, you would be wrong because people with higher IQs do educate themselves more. I could give you several meta-analyses on this from the
Yeah, can you
Handbook of
name them for me?
Intelligence. Yeah, I can actually take a screenshot and send it in the chat, but I can
You don't have to
sort of read off.
screenshot, just literally name them.
Name them. Name what the
And name the studies.
Porpat 2009. Strenzy. I mean, it would probably be more productive for me to just send it in the chat, honestly. Like, this is just kind of a waste of time if I'm just reading them all out.
Okay,
But I
yeah.
can
So
read
what I
out.
would ask you then, yeah, what I would ask you then is like in those studies, like what was their methodology?
I mean, it's we're talking about literally hundreds of studies here, but
Pick
the
one.
general methodology is to find the correlation between the higher IQ and whatever variable they're looking at. So, like, there's several
Great. I'll
studies
talk
that they're
about that in
talking
my
about.
next speech. Thanks for clarifying. I have a different
Okay.
question. Can you please explain to me why ethno-nationalism is bad?
Explain to you why ethno-nationalism is bad.
Yeah.
Is your position that it's good? I mean, I thought you were defending democracy.
Yeah, I'm not defending anything. I'm just asking you to explain it to me.
Well, I mean, I think it's a priori in both of our arguments. I think it's not a really good route to go down, kind of
Yeah,
defending
I get to choose how to spend
ethno-nationalism.
my own cross time. Literally just explain
Okay,
it to
cool.
me.
No, thanks. I'll pass.
Great. You're conceding that ethno-nationalism isn't bad. Let's move on.
No, I'm not.
Um, yeah, so the next
I said
thing I
I'll
would
pass.
talk about. Right. If you're not going to give me an explanation why ethno-nationalism is
You
bad,
might not want to
then I'm
waste
just going to
your
assume you don't know.
cross-examination time.
It's my own cross, dude. I can spend it how I want.
Okay.
So are you going to answer the question or no? We can
No.
move on. Great. Let's move on. Can you please explain to me, like, for example, this is happening in America, right? Like the resolution happens in America. So, like, practically, like, if we're talking about instrumentalism, right? Practically, how do you think it's going to happen that we like completely amend the Constitution to get rid of democracy?
Well, we amend the Constitution all the time. You actually referenced the 14th Amendment, which was in 1868, if I recall correctly. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you kind of
So
explained it on your
I don't
own.
think the timing matters. Would you disagree? Like, would you say that those amendments need to be repealed?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you have an amendment that impedes better policy, then you should repeal it. Yeah, or amend it is what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. Like what I'm asking is, do you think the idea of letting so you're claiming that as Americans we should amend the Constitution to get rid of the 14th and 15th Amendment, right?
I mean, I didn't specify Americans. I'm defending the general view, but yeah, if
Well, the
Americans were
resolution
to do it, they
itself
would do it
specifically
according
says
to
America. So we're talking about America.
the what?
The resolution, the one that you gave to me, specifically says in America. So we're talking about
Oh, did I say
Americans.
that? All right, whatever. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. So if it's in America, then you're going to do it according to American law, like obviously.
Okay, we're out of time. Okay. There's 2 minutes of optional prep time. I'm gonna take it starting now. There's 40 seconds. Sorry. Okay, I'm done. Are you good? There's 15 seconds left.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, great. You got a 4-minute rebuttal. Start when you're ready.
All right, cool. Well, as I already pointed out, the 14th Amendment was in 1868. So the idea that my position is un-American in any way is clearly ridiculous, especially when people point out that there's already been cases where people proposed or even used intelligence tests. The cases like that, they're kind of irrelevant to my point because that's not what I'm defending. I'm not defending having some sort of specifically intentionally biased test. I'm defending having a general intelligence test for all voters with no exceptions. And if people of a certain race pass it, then good for them. They get to vote. It's that simple. It's not a matter of creating any sort of racial or gender or whatever bias. It's a matter of creating a bias of intelligence. And if the demographics don't fit in with that, then that's completely irrelevant. I can point to, I already pointed to a few hypotheticals that kind of tear apart that whole argument, but I can also point to the fact that medical licensure, most people who get medical licenses, or white people tend to get medical licenses at a higher rate than black people, right? Does that mean we get rid of medical licenses? No, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. We don't get rid of something because, well, actually, I do think we should get rid of it, but that's another thing. That's not part of this debate. But anyways, that's it's irrelevant whether or not there's some sort of racial disparity, right? That's not enough to argue against a policy, especially if the policy is primarily being argued on instrumental grounds. As I already pointed out, American voters are generally very misinformed. And yes, it is the case that more intelligent people are more informed on average. Again, the empirical evidence overwhelmingly shows this. The empirical evidence overwhelmingly shows that people with higher intelligence on general intelligence tests are more educated in every single way. They perform better in every single realm of education, from beginning to end, from preschool to college, every single realm. They tend to support better policies. They tend to have better understandings of economics. They tend to support socialism less. They tend to be against ethno-nationalism. And it's completely the opposite with people who are lower intelligence. And again, I'm pointing out the general trend. I'm not saying every single person with an IQ over 110 is going to make perfect decisions or be the ideal voter. We're talking about averages. We're talking about what the general case is. I had one other thing I was going to go over if I remember what it was. Yeah, I mean, as far as like this idea that IQ tests are racially biased, I mean, there's no real evidence for that. Most of the examples people give where they're just pointing to basic correlations, they don't actually mean anything because, you're kind of assuming there's no reverse causation there. Like, people who are lower intelligence are going to be poorer because they have a higher time preference and they tend to be worse at managing money. They tend to have less self-control. So yeah, they are going to be poor. That doesn't mean that being poor causes low IQ. A great rebuttal to that would be twin studies. If you look at twin studies, then what you find is that twins who grow up in vastly different households tend to have very similar, if not exactly the same IQs later in life. So that kind of debunks that whole thing. But I guess that's all I can think of at the moment.
Great. Okay. Okay. So first I want to talk about general IQ test reliability, right? I think Ben is fundamentally misunderstanding what actual IQ is. According to Big Thing Neuropsych, even the most reputable IQ test psychologists will openly admit that it's not a complete measure of how smart you are. They do not tell you, nor are they intended to tell you, your overall cognitive prowess. What IQ measures is something called general mental ability, for example, pattern recognition. Additionally, IQ actually measures your score on a test against averages of everyone else also taking that test. Because it compares your answers with other people, it's not about absolute intelligence, rather it's about relative intelligence. IQ does not represent raw brain power. If everyone in a population is an idiot, some of those idiots will still get high IQ scores because they're being compared with other idiots. The same goes for if everyone was a genius. If everyone was a genius, in the opposition world, even some geniuses would be cut off from voting. But let's talk about even further. He says it doesn't matter that IQ testing is against the Constitution. Right. So first, if you're saying it doesn't matter and you're conceding that it is in fact against amendments, you then have to defend the fact that people shouldn't have any type of voter protections and things like that. But second, you also have to defend the fact, since you've conceded that it's irrelevant, right, that minorities would be excluded. I think it's absolutely relevant because you're advocating so much for instrumental pragmatism, right? In America, I would say that people care about minorities, and I think minorities absolutely have a right to participate in the democracy that they were awarded. But finally, he also talks about how, for example, white people get more medical licenses. There's no evidence. He brought up twin studies in the same IQ. I have a couple responses. First, if you're admitting that twins being raised in different environments have the same IQ, then you've just admitted that IQ doesn't, literally doesn't matter, because what you're voting is not based on intelligence. It's based on things like personal experiences and what policies matter the most to you. So if you're admitting that IQ has no relevance to personal experiences and what policy matters to you, then you've just admitted that IQ is irrelevant in terms of political education. But further, I'd like to mention that in Cross X, he literally straight up admitted that IQ doesn't guarantee political education. And so I would say that you're literally just presupposing that high IQ people would bother to even be educated in elections, that they would want to vote. There's lots of high IQ people that really don't give a crap about voting. I would say that I've also given you 3 separate sources. I can list them for you. There's Mitchell Hamlin Law Review, there's Princeton University Press, and there's also Lancet Neurology that all state that IQ is not a gauge for political education. But let's talk about the burdens of proof I gave you at the very beginning. You have to prove that IQ testing as a voting requirement would align with American values. Your kind of whole case is that American values are bad, right? So that you don't need to align with them. I would say that's not true. You haven't given me proof why democracy is bad, right? And so if we're talking about pragmatism in America, you have to prove that it would actually work in America. But I also want to point out, let me backtrack a little bit here. During Cross X, I asked you to explain to me why ethno-nationalism and socialism is bad. Because you keep using that as a justification for restricting minorities because they tend to vote for these things. If you can't explain to me why the things that minorities are voting for is bad, then that's not a reason to restrict minorities on the basis of what they're voting for. It's literally a blatant contradiction. I'd also like to go back to this minorities point because it seems to be the crux of your case that's too bad, so sad. If you don't pass the test, you're done. I would say that if you're gonna presuppose that minorities having a low IQ means that they can't make political decisions, I would then say that you'd have to defend that Obama didn't make good political decisions either because he was a minority. I think you've put yourself in a very tough position. You've put yourself in a bind, and you now have to defend all these things that would actually be practical in America. I would implore you to explain to me how this could actually happen in America, since you keep advocating for instrumental pragmatism. Yeah, that's my time. Great. You get 3 minutes across. I'll start when you want.
Okay. Wait, am I starting?
Yeah, whenever you want.
Okay. Well, I mean, quite literally everything you said in response to me was in response to things I never said. Could you? I don't know. I kind of want to ask, when did I say any of that? But I guess that wouldn't be a productive question to ask. So you're saying, oh yeah, we don't use IQ as a gauge for political knowledge. Of course, I never said we do. But do you not acknowledge that there's overwhelming empirical evidence that people with higher IQs tend to have better political takes?
No, I wouldn't acknowledge that because I would say that you've just
Why?
admitted that let me finish the answer. You've just admitted that IQ is not a gauge for political education. So if IQ is not a gauge for political education, there's no correlation between the two, so it doesn't matter.
There is correlation, though. It's not a
And why did you
gauge.
say
We don't
IQ is
use it
not a
as a
gauge for
gauge in the
political education?
social. We don't use it as a gauge in the social sciences because what we do instead is we do like civics tests, for example. We do specific tests on that political knowledge. But in the beginning, I pointed out the reason I don't adhere to the civics test model that some people like Jason Brennan, for example, advocate for, is because it is much more prone to bias. I'm actually defending the position that would lead to less bias because we can use an already established, unbiased, objective, scientific way to weed out people who are less intelligent.
Is there a question there?
No, I was just responding to what you were saying, but yeah, I mean, what was the first question I asked you again? Because I kind of want to repeat it. Okay, yeah, yeah. So, do you not acknowledge that there is a ton of correlation between better political takes and higher intelligence?
Yeah, you then have to define to me what you mean by better political take. I would say that's
Well,
subjective.
you are defending democracy. So if you're defending democracy a priori, you oppose ethno-nationalism, do you not?
Yeah, you have to explain to me why ethno-nationalism is bad.
No, I
I'm
don't.
still
No, I don't. I'm asking you a question. You're defending
okay.
democracy, right? That's the entire point. Your opening statement was you defending democracy. You're not defending ethno-nationalism. You're not defending authoritarianism. In fact, you're accusing my position of being the authoritarian position. So, like, why would you want people voting who support ethno-nationalism or who support authoritarianism? Is that not counter to your values?
Yeah, so I don't care what people vote, and let me tell you why. Because I think the value of people participating in democracy is what drives people to be informed in their votes. So even if people like vote for things I disagree with, I would say that Republicans vote for things I disagree with. Just because Republicans are voting and I disagree with them doesn't mean that I should just cut them off from voting.
Okay, what if Republicans? All right, let me ask a better question. Do you think it's valid for people to vote to say, I don't know, take away someone's rights, or I don't know, remove democracy itself?
But that's time. I'll answer in my section though, don't worry. Yeah, do I think it's valid? I think it's the same way where it's valid for people to vote the pro-life or pro-choice position. It's valid for people to vote the immigration issue. That would be technically considered taking away people's rights. I think people's opinions all have validity. Just because I disagree with them doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to vote. But let's move on to my question. In my speech, I mentioned relative versus objective intelligence. In your world, would even if hypothetically if everyone was a genius, would people still be cut off?
Yeah.
Yeah, so why is it a good thing if it
Well,
doesn't
actually,
matter?
give it a better answer to that.
Okay.
If everybody was high intelligence, you probably wouldn't need this. But if you did, if it was deemed to be necessary, which I personally deem it to be necessary, and many others do, political scientists like I referenced Jason Brennan earlier. Um, if they deem it to be necessary, then sure. But I mean, it probably wouldn't be necessary, to be honest.
Okay, so like okay, we'll move on. When you want to talk about how like voters being misinformed is like antithetical to democracy and like all that, I'm still waiting for you to tell me that like if you're high IQ, you're more likely to like go do research on the better candidate.
I don't think there's specific research on that, but that's not really the question. It's not the question of whether or not you're doing research on a specific candidate. You are going to have, or you're going to tend to have a surface level knowledge on them, but we do have the evidence that a lot of people are not knowledgeable on the candidates they're voting for at all. A lot of people tend to, like
Do the
just vote down
studies
the
that you're
party line. There's
referencing,
also
yeah, yeah. Do the studies that you're referencing saying that voters are misinformed measure IQ?
uh, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Yeah, so if these studies are not measuring IQ, then how do I know that the voters you're claiming are misinformed have a low IQ?
Because we also have a ton of research looking at IQ correlating with variables like education or like support for certain policies or certain systems.
So do you think if you have a low IQ, it's impossible for you to like be politically educated?
No, that was never
I
my
think it's
position. I don't.
No, like I'm just asking you to clarify. Do you think it's possible for you to be politically educated even if you have a low IQ?
No, that's why I'm very selective with the language I use. I say people with higher IQs generally have better political takes. And again, we have the evidence for that. I'm not saying it's one to one.
Yeah,
It's not a
that's not
one-to-one
answering the question
ratio
though.
by
I'm
any
saying,
sense.
do you think it's possible for someone with low IQ to be politically
No, I
educated?
did. I said yes twice. Yes, it is
Yes?
possible.
Okay.
Yes.
So if it's possible, then why are we cutting them off with the assumption that they're just not gonna be? Um, but sorry,
Because
that's the
we are
end.
looking at the general trend.
Yeah, that's time. 2 minutes of prep time. I'm gonna take it. Oh, sorry, that was loud. Okay, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Start your speech whenever.
Sorry, is this closing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I want to focus on a few different contentions that came up. One of them would be oh shoot, my brain just went numb. Um, okay, let me just go a different direction. Okay, so we're again, what I'm talking about is things that generally tend to be true. I'm talking about um, like averages. I'm not saying it's a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm not saying every person with an 80 IQ is gonna go vote for something stupid. All right. It just tends to be the case that people with lower IQs tend to be worse at many things, including, of course, cognitive ability. That's kind of the whole shtick what we're talking about here. All right. I'll go over a few different things. For example, I sent these meta-analyses in the chat earlier, but higher IQ is correlated with academic performance in primary education, educational attainment, job performance, occupational attainment, um, skill acquisition in work training, degree attainment speed in graduate school, group leadership success, promotions at work, interview success, reading performance, becoming a leader in group, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? We have extensive evidence that lower IQ is associated with support for authoritarianism, support for ethno-nationalism, dogmatism. There's plenty of interesting research on like motivated reasoning, for example, where people are just incredibly politically biased and they tend to misinterpret like scientific research, for example, and say it agrees with me when it doesn't, just because that's their political bias. Higher IQ people tend to be more exempt from that. They tend to not have these sort of biases or this dogmatism. And again, the evidence for this is overwhelming. Now, I don't need to explain why ethno-nationalism or authoritarianism are bad, because my opponent is basically presupposing that these things are bad, right? I'm talking about um, epistocracy as a solution to democracy. I'm not talking about it as a solution to authoritarianism, and thus I don't have to compare it to authoritarianism. Right? We are both presupposing that authoritarianism and ethno-nationalism are bad, especially when one of the critiques of my view is that it's going to cause a few black ladies to not be able to vote because their IQs are like 75 or something. Oh no, boo-hoo. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter that we let lower IQ people vote to turn everybody else's lives into shit. It's completely pointless, right? If higher IQ people were the ones voting in Nazi Germany, guess what? Hitler wouldn't have become chancellor. It wouldn't have happened. It was low IQ people, low intelligence people supporting Hitler, not the higher intelligence people. They were going after the intelligent people. They were going after the academics, after the people who knew what they were talking about. They were appealing to low intelligence and misinformed voters, not to the high intelligence voters. Again, authoritarianism, ethno-nationalism, that's supported by low IQ people. It does not tend to be supported by high IQ people. I am saying that this sort of religious affinity to democracy is self-defeating. When you support this to the extreme, what ends up happening is it self-destructs. So there's no point in supporting it. You can retain some of these values, like having degrees of political and economic and social freedom, by having an alternative system that solves the inherent flaws. And again, the baseline inherent flaw that I'm talking about here is the fact that a lot of people are stupid.
Great. Okay. So I just want to give an overarching overview of the debate, right? The crux of Ben's case is one, that the IQ is the best solution because it's unbiased, and second, because it prevents information, right? That's the main crux of his case. So let's go through it. I would say first that the IQ actually itself is unbiased. I said in the very beginning that the IQ is culturally biased because it talks about Western-centric values. He never responded to the fact that the IQ test is culturally biased. And by not responding, right, that's concession. So continuing, right, let's talk about the misinformation. So, like, the main crux of his case is that low IQ people tend to be misinformed, right? Okay, so in order for you to make that argument, you have to prove to me that the IQ test, again, is a good gauge for how informed you are in an election. Multiple times in cross, I asked you, for example, is it possible for a low IQ person to be educated, right? And he said yes. He talks about how we're not talking about, like, absolutes, we're talking about what tends to be. I would say that it's not practical to make laws like that aren't about absolutes or what tends to be. If it's possible that a low IQ person, if it's even likely that a low IQ person can make informed decisions, then it doesn't make sense to restrict them because you're assuming that they won't be able to, right? You haven't proved to me yet why IQ is unique in making a gauge about, like, whether you or not you can educate yourself within the election. He talked all about these meta studies that he was talking about, or about how high IQ people have good metrics of, like, life success, they're academically intelligent, whatever. None of that matters if you're not going to talk about the correlation between a high IQ and being informed in the election. Whether you're more likely to be doesn't matter because you have to prove to me that it actually happens. But I want to talk about why, even if you're worried about misinformed voters, like, the IQ doesn't have to be, the IQ is not the best solution for it anyway, right? We can do tons of other things. We can just increase political education. Like, the IQ is not necessary. But I want to bring attention to a very specific case, right? The competency assessment tool for voting, called CAT-V, was based on Doe Roe, which is backed by the American Bar Association, is a structured interview designed to address the subject's understanding of the nature of voting. I'm not necessarily advocating for this, I'm just explaining what it is. The effects of voting and the capacity to make a choice. All the research about the CAT-V found, and I quote, correlation is weak between cognitive status and capacity to vote, and thus status-based disenfranchisement provisions are too broad. The crux of his case is that high IQ people are more likely to make informed votes. But the truth of the matter is that he hasn't proved that. And I don't think it makes sense to pass laws, right, based on things that are, quote unquote, more likely to happen. If he himself admitted in cross-examination that it's possible for a low IQ person to be educated, then it does not make sense for us to pass laws that completely ignore this possibility, right? So I've defeated his point about the IQ being the best because it's unbiased. He, like, completely ignored my second contention, about, like, cultural bias. But second, he still hasn't proven that IQ is a good gauge for political education. The only thing he has proven is that IQ is a good gauge for metrics of, like, life success, like occupational things, stuff like that. Yeah, that has no correlation to political engagement, right? You can be working at McDonald's and still be one of the most informed people in your county, right? Your job, your metrics of like success, your academic intelligence does not matter when it comes to political education. When doing research for the CAT-V, people literally found that when people's mental capacity were being questioned, they were still able to understand like what was going on in elections. So until he proves that IQ is the best gauge for political education and that it like makes it okay to pass laws, then he doesn't win this debate. That's time.
Okay, I guess
The
that's it
debate,
then.
Ben.
Yeah. Wait. So Crispy, you want to join the VC and talk it over?
Yeah. You guys can go to Judge VC. Can you drag Kay and Crispy so you guys can all talk?
Uh,
Ben is gone.
Where'd he go?
I don't know where he went. Oh, he's requesting. Hold on. He's back.
I don't see Judge VC. Am I missing it?
It should be under the stage.
Oh no, I see it. I see it. Yeah.
Discord
Yeah.
app.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to see who that retard in the comments
Detroiter
was.
needs to drag Kay.
Indy.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Indy, you're a dumb little bitch, Indy. You're a little bitch.
Good debate, Ben. Good job.
Yeah, good debate. Indy in the comments is a bitch, though.
Hi, Julian.
Hello. What did Indy do?
Let's do a
Indy's a
poll.
bitch. Indy's saying that black people should be able to steal and have no consequences.
Oh yeah,
I don't remember what he said.
that's a good position.
I'm saying I'm saying justice has no racial bias, and he's like, no, black people should be able to steal stuff. Like, no, white people shouldn't be able to steal stuff, and black people shouldn't be able to steal stuff, bro.
Well,
Why do you
Ben, I have a
hate
question.
black people so much? Why do you think of them so low?
I get your point, but like about
Get a life,
in
bro.
the debate or whatever. But why do you use rhetoric like, okay, so like a dumb black woman can't vote? You do.
Yeah, that was really
Why
weird.
is that your rhetoric? Why is that the move? Like I understand
what?
the
I wasn't
point, but
listening.
I mean, like, why is your rhetoric like, boo-hoo, a dumb black woman can't vote?
Seth really wants to say
Because
something.
I'm expressing that doesn't
on.
matter. When people focus on the demographic argument, I genuinely don't care. They're not actually defending, or they're not actually critiquing epistocracy. They're just trying to label you as a mean, big old racist, and I don't accept it.
Hi, Seth.
I mean, I get the point, but I mean, it just sounds kind of crazy to listen to.
No, I mean it's true. Like you just have to deal with it like at a surface level. I mean, there's a whole Jason Brennan has a whole paper about this dealing with the demographics argument. So there's lots of different things, and one of the ones he brings up is like the medical licensure, which I mean, again, personally I don't support medical licensure because I'm an anarcho-capitalist, but generally people do, like a large majority of people do. So you could point to stuff like that and demonstrate that the disparity in of itself doesn't justify removing the barrier to entry.
I think Seth had a problem with something I said.
I have like two problems. Being you messed up. I forgot which it was, but it was like she made the point about a correlation between like political like education or something like that and like IQ and been the point.
Well,
you
I
should've
didn't
made.
care about that. Literally in my opening statement, I said I don't care about that. So like that's why I wasn't focusing on it.
That's fine. You can not care about it, but the point. I would have, you should have, in my opinion, you should rebut it. Is the whole point of you Q test is like whatever type of intelligence you want to come up with. By the very nature of G, it will correlate to some at least statistically significant degree. And that's the whole point of what the general factor is, and that's supposedly what the IQ test is testing.
I have no doubt that a higher IQ correlates with better performance on civics test or political knowledge. I didn't go get that information because again, that wasn't really my point. I guess I could have gone it. Maybe it would have made my argument better, but I was just trying to focus on the
Okay.
the other
I gotta
variables
ask
that I brought up.
Bobo a question now. You say IQ tests are culturally biased. I'm not necessarily trying to argue with you.
Yeah.
But how do you prove like a latent variable is culturally biased.
Yeah, so it's less of like a quantitative thing and more of like analysis. Like if you're saying like the IQ test is based on like Western centric ideas, right?
What does that
If
mean?
Yeah, I'll explain it. Things that like Americans are more familiar with, things like American culture. So, if an immigrant, for example, is not familiar with Western ideas and Western culture, they may not be familiar with some of the terms used on the test or some of the concepts used on the test. And so, by that, they would be put at a disadvantage because they don't have the same like cultural experience that the test is directed at.
Okay. Well, okay, that's fine. I'm not gonna argue with you. That's okay. I was just
Well, why
wondering.
And the
why do
thing
you like
is I
so
don't
many
even know if I believe
non-Westerners?
that. That's just the argument. I haven't done enough research into
Well,
whether or not that's
the
true.
easiest
It's
rebuttal
It's
definitely
just
to
not
like,
this
true.
is that
yeah, it's
non-Westerners
just
do
like the
better.
thing is like if it's just the whole thing it was unresponded to, and so in a debate, if you don't respond to something, that's de facto concession.
I mean, I
Okay.
don't think that's true, but I mean, I didn't want to
I
get
mean,
into it because it's
the
very
easiest
like,
rebuttal to this would obviously be that what non-Westerners do better on IQ tests than Westerners do, at least in the eastern part of Asia. And then you have like specific like tribes and not tribes, but like ethnic groups in Africa, such as like Nigeria and Ethiopia. But um, another thing is like, well, that's it. That's all I really have to say. That I'm not going to argue with anybody.
yeah. The reason I
That's
didn't
fine.
harp on
I don't
that, I
really
actually had
know terribly too much about it.
I had a
I'm
whole
gonna mute
response.
so that I can eat my dinner.
Okay.
Um,
I had a whole response prepared for that. I just didn't go into it because I honestly just felt like it was a waste of time just going after that. Like again, I'm arguing against the demographic
yeah, I mean
contention.
it all depends on how the three of them value that argument, whether or not it has enough weight. It's up to them.
But like Russell T. Warren, he has a whole chapter kind of debunking the cultural bias myth in his book In the Know. That's probably the best place for people to go read about it. But there is a lot of there have been like surveys of like people with the APA and stuff like that, and I mean generally people have like rejected the idea of
Mhm.
cultural bias.
Well, do you guys think I did good for my first formal debate on Glock server? Did I prove myself?
I mean, I think you did fine. I mean, I think my biggest problem was you seemed to not like listen to what I was saying. Sometimes there's like a lot of straw men, but that's fine, I
No,
guess.
I understood what you were saying. I was strawmanning on purpose because it's
Okay,
good strategy.
all right. Well, if it was on purpose, then that's fine, I guess.
You have to like point out that I'm strawmanning, because if you don't, then like it's true.
Yeah, I mean, I
Like
didn't bring up the
my
word, but
philosophy on debate is like if I say the moon is cheese and no one negates that, then for that debate the moon is cheese.
I mean, I don't really like your philosophy on debate, but
That's okay. You don't
you
have to
know,
like it, but that's how I've always done it.
yeah, it's fine. It's whatever.
Oh, what happened? And I will say, like, to clarify, I didn't mean like I
I
strawman the whole time on purpose. Like that wasn't the intention. It was just mostly like heat of the moment.
I just don't
Like
know
I
why
didn't
they
go
put
into
the
it with the
leave
intention
button.
of strawmanning you. It's just heat of the moment type thing.
They put like the drop button like right next to the comment button.
Yes, the mute button.
It's so annoying.
Yeah, it is really annoying. I'm so curious what the judges are talking about.
Do
Like
you
literally.
flow arguments? What the fuck does that mean?
Well, he admitted he wasn't taking notes. If that's what you mean.
No, I just take mental notes.
Yeah, I have like 3 different papers, like jotting down notes about the debate.
Yeah, I didn't prepare a specific debate document. I just took a bunch of stuff that I had
You want to see
previously.
mine? I can show you. I need to show it off.
Sure.
Is it working?
I don't really spend
Is
time
it
creating
working?
debate documents unless yeah it is. I don't spend time creating debate like new debate documents unless it's like a big public debate.
It's my favorite thing to do. I love writing debate cases.
Like actually, my position would probably be that the civics test would be better than the IQ test, or at least like pragmatically, because it would be harder to convince people to go with the IQ test, I would say. But
Landon,
Yeah.
you want me to post it in chat? Is that what you said? I can put up a PDF.
why didn't you use prep time? Because I didn't want to.
No, a civics test would be different than an IQ test. What we saw tonight was Bobo speaking slowly. Yeah. Oh my god. Shiny, you should watch me spread. That would be really fun.
Start spreading.
Spreading is like when I know that sounds bad. Spreading is when you speak like super super fast to the point like a layman's ears would not be able to understand it.
Oh.
Yeah, it did sound bad. It's like in the context of debate, it's like when you like speed talk. Like people will hit up like 500 words per minute.
And it sounds bad when you guys have your heads in the gutter. I mean, I have the mind
Yeah,
of a
that's true.
6-year-old child, so I don't think like that.
No, but there are videos of like people spreading on YouTube. There needs to be a different word for that. There are videos of people like talking really, really fast in debate, and it's really funny. Like, hold on, I can pull one up. It's really funny.
Why doesn't Indy come up and briefly debate me on why stealing is good? Indy, why do you think stealing is good?
Um, oh, I found a good video. This is what spreading is. Let me screen share. Can you see?
1% of the country GDP, nothing off. Setting the economy at a free pro world produce a recession, oil prices differently than it did 15 years ago. Tend to go up, stay up the road, station spike field. Oh, yeah, we have a solve this mechanism for inflated by space. This goes away.
Oh, this is just autism.
Uses scary scenarios to shock the public, make action more popular. Jaworski evidence will be more on the link debate on the K, but also alarms of hijacked global warming.
I'm a 12th grader at Lexington High School.
Yeah,
He
that.
said argument for property rights. Charles, the argument is that I can bench twice your body weight and I can beat you up easily if you try to steal my shit. Checkmate, buddy.
Did you see the spreading video though? It's like makes me laugh.
No, I can't. Like, I heard it, but it wouldn't load.
Oh.
The video wouldn't load.
It's just the audio. It's fine. Like most people would not be able to understand.
Bro, I can't believe people in the comments don't understand group averages. That's crazy. No, it's
I
actually
think the problem is that there are certain factors that go into it.
well, the inability to understand averages is actually a low IQ trait. So it's kind of ironic when people apply
that's
not understanding averages to IQ.
Ben, how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
Okay.
The average American male is 5'9". But wait, I saw American male that's 6'5". That's the comments right now. No ANCAP I know thinks you help the community. Well, all the ANCAPs you know are faggots then.
Can I ask,
So,
Ben, in your opinion, and I'm not going to argue with you, I'm literally just curious, who do you think actually won the debate?
I mean, I think I probably could have done better, but I think my position is better.
Okay.
I think I argued my position better. I mean, you kind of said you intentionally strawmanned, and I'm of the philosophy that if you strawman, you're
Yeah, but
not
the thing
using
is
proper debate
the
etiquette. But
strawmanning was not the reason. Like, it was not the crux of my case. I think I had pretty good analysis. That was not like bad.
wait, guys, I'm not actually. Wait, no. I'll stand by what I said, guys. I'm actually going to kill Charsky in real life, not in a video game. I'm gonna go to his house in real life with a real gun. I'm gonna kill Charsky in real life. Just standing by what I said. I'm not gonna back down.
Dan wants to know if you had to use a word
True.
to describe yourself, if intelligent would be one.
No, I would say silly.
If you could describe me in one word, what would it be?
Damn. All right.
You know what's really funny is I asked that question
I don't really
to like
know
my
you that
friends.
much. I've talked to you
Yeah, the question,
3
the
times.
thing is, I asked that question to like people in real life, and for context, I'm like really short. I'm like 5'2.5", and people say I'm really intimidating, and I think it's really funny. I don't know if I'm
Intimidating.
actually intimidating, but it's what I've been told, and I think it's funny.
I mean, you come across as someone who people would like say is intimidating, although I wouldn't personally feel that way. I don't think. But I don't know. Confident, I guess, is a good word.
I would say I'm pretty confident.
Is this true? Wait, hold on, Seth. Fuck, are you even tracking? He claimed these young boys were thugs. Yes, I did. And stole a bike from a pregnant white woman. I did say that. When in reality is the boys were using that bike all day and was waiting, okay, and was waiting for it to open back up so he can ride it again. Okay, yes, that doesn't matter, by the way. If you are renting something, which is not yours, it's not your property, you are renting it, someone else's property, and then you return it, you return the bike to the charging station, and it is no longer in your possession via contractual law. We're talking about contractual law here. If it is no longer in your possession, you cannot claim it. That's not how it works. You can't go and rent a car and then bring it back to the rentier and be like, actually, I claim this for later. No, you can't do that. You have no legal basis for doing that. That is against the law. Anybody else can come and rent it. The owners of the bike contractually granted it to the woman. You cannot say that it was their bike. If she goes and takes it and they try to steal it from her after it is contractually put in her possession, that is stealing legally. You need to learn the law. You can't just say this dumb shit. I don't care how emotionally attached you are to something. If it's not yours, you don't own it. You can't say it's being stolen from you if it's not yours or if it's not put in your possession by the owner. I don't know how hard that is for you to grasp. Can't. You can say it, but you would be wrong. Is that better?
I'm gonna frame it. Chandler.
Bro, that's
Oh,
so fraud. That's such a fraud. See, this is why democracy's bad. If we tested people's IQs before they voted for the debate, I think the results would be very different. That's all I'm saying.
what do you think the IQs are of the people in chat right now?
Chartsky is at least 14, I think, I would say. Patrick, can't hear you over my muscle shiny. Patrick, don't lie. Patrick is
I
probably
actually,
like
I have no idea what my
17.
IQ is. Like, I think genuinely, as I've gotten older, my IQ has gone down. Like, I think I
Steph
peaked
legitimately
freshman year
has
of
an
high
IQ
school.
of like 62, I think.
I peaked freshman year of high school. It just went downhill from there. I didn't take the SAT. I don't know. Why would I admit that?
The
Because I
people
speak the
I've seen
truth.
brag about their
I'm
IQ
not
have been the
ashamed.
dumbest.
I didn't take the SAT or the ACT. No, Landon, they didn't test my IQ at all. I've never taken an IQ test. I have no idea what it is. Was it the drugs? Probably.
People
13,
shouldn't do
17 is pretty good.
drugs.
Well, my
Stream
GPA, I don't
mentioned
think GPA is pretty accurate because I just like chose not to do homework. Like I think I was pretty smart in school. I just like didn't do any assignments. So I don't think GPA is a good gauge.
Muhammad. Bro, Muhammad was a
Room temperature
pedophile.
IQ, that's probably accurate for me. I think
Landon, why are
I
you? Why?
really
Why is
bored.
Landon attacking me in the chat? Landon, I just saw you 2 weeks ago, dog. And I'm literally gonna see you this weekend, and you're doing this. You know, you realize what I could do to you? I could pants you in front of all the ladies. Takes a second, 1 second. I know you don't wear a belt. Not again.
And I'll say this because I'm mature. If the judges somehow decide that you win, good job, and I'm not going to argue with it.
I'm like Detroit. Sorry, that was a cough.
Somehow decide. I mean, look, if they decide that you won, then you won. I mean, I think they're
Wait.
pretty smart. And
Speaking of, for the other debate, did we decide who's arguing who? What was the topic again? It was like.
so the way I decided topics for all of them was I flipped coins. So random. Do you want me to read your topic to you?
Yeah, I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I posted it in the channel. Your topic is the U.S. government should decriminalize all drugs, and
Oh yeah,
your prop.
I'm up.
No, your
Yes.
prop. Your affirmation.
What? Oh,
It was a coin
damn
flip.
it.
I can't help you.
That's my position, but I was preparing to argue against it.
Why? I literally wrote in the channel that you're prop.
I don't remember that. I just probably didn't see it.
You want me to send you a screenshot?
Did I respond to the fact that I was arguing for it? All right.
Look,
Well,
I'll send you a screenshot. Look. Hold on. There you go.
nigga Ben be talking for 15 minutes. We had a whole
Wait,
Q&A session.
What did you say?
Oh, I was just reading what Eco said.
Did you? Did anyone else hear that?
No, I was just a sneeze.
Can we clip that? Can someone clip that? Was anyone recording? It's fine. Oh my god.
I bet he felt cool. All right, that's hilarious.
Oh my god.
Watch your mouth, ho. Eco, you're literally an openly homosexual black man. All right, I think you should be worrying about other things.
Oh. Um.
Are you asking me to roof? Why are you guys talking about roofies? What the hell?
Eco, do you want me to put you up so you can talk to him? Because I think that would be funny.
Eco, bring
Actually,
Eco up.
is Eco in? I don't think Eco's in the audience.
Where's Eco? Wait, how did
I don't know.
Eco hear what I said if he's not in here?
I don't know. Am I an agent of chaos? For sure. For sure. I love drama. Anyone who says that they don't love drama is like lying to themselves.
All right, somebody come up here and debate me on why it's wrong to say the N-word.
I'm so confused. I don't see Eco in the audience. How do they know what's happening?
I don't know. Someone come up here and debate Bobo about ethno-nationalism. She's apparently likes ethno-nationalism.
No, I don't. I think your response was good. Just in the moment, I was like,
Your position is self-defeating. If you think it's not wrong to say nigga, just say nigga. Okay.
oh my god.
I know it's a bit cliche, but I know I have more black. I have more.
Where'd he go? Did someone kick him? He's oh.
Bro, somebody got mad. Womp womp.
So you're not a fan of ethno-nationalism, Bobo?
She loves that.
Maybe.
So you don't think that race should be able to preserve itself?
That's not what I said.
Are you a race hater?
Oh my god.
No, I just want to know. Are you a race traitor? Yes or no?
I don't even know what that means.
You don't know what it means to be a race traitor.
A race
Do you
traitor?
think that your race should be able to have the means and execute, in a proper order, means to sustain and preserve itself?
I don't think race matters.
Oh, okay. So just to make sure, you have no pride in what your ancestors did ever, right? Nothing?
That's also not what I said.
Look, so the reason why it's true that you take no pride is because you have bad, you sleep it too late, you're on Discord,
No.
right? And also because you don't even think race matters. I'm going to tell you something.
Great. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
Wait, Bobo, would you marry
I can
somebody
respond
with
if you
another
want,
race?
but I'm not gonna talk to him anymore. I'll respond. You want me to respond? I think whatever my ancestors did had nothing to do with the fact that they were right. I mean white. Sorry.
Would you marry someone of another race? Would you marry a black person?
Yeah.
Why? Is it because you want to ruin their race and not let
That's
them
not what I
preserve
said.
it? You want
Sorry, I'm not
like
talking to
a
you.
black man to have like a mixed race baby instead of being have a black baby?
Yeah, I
That looks
choose
just
my
like him.
partners based on their personality and not on their race or what they look like.
Interesting. So like, if there were 5 people with the
But what
same
I was saying,
personality,
sorry, I'll answer you. Give me 1 second. Patrick, what I was saying was that the fact, whatever my ancestors did, that was cool, had nothing to do with the color of their skin, right? They did it because they were pretty cool. I would say they would be still cool if they were black. No, it didn't have anything to do with it. Sorry, Ben, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, so if there were like 5 dudes all with the same personality, and one of them was black, one of them was white, what's all the races? One of them is like East Asian, one of them's South Asian, and one of them's, let's say, Arabic. Which one would you choose?
Well, depends on who's ugly. If they all have the same personality, which one's hotter?
All right, what if only the white one is good looking? Which one would you
Yeah,
choose?
then it would be their facial composition, not the color of their skin.
You heard it here, guys. Ethno nationalism.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
You're not equipped for this debate. What does that even mean?
The judges are supposed to be I don't know. It's taking a really long time. And someone, where is Chandler in here? Chandler, are they almost done? Have they gotten anywhere? Or are they like just have no idea what's going on?
Where are the judge? Are they really like still talking about this?
Yeah, they're in the judge VC right now.
Bro, it's not that deep. Ben, how do you feel about the fact that the president of Argentina is succeeding? Oh, I really like it.
I'm actually Argentinian.
You're Argentinian?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Or
What do you think about
Argentine.
Javier Milei?
Bro, you
Argentine.
can be multiple things at once. You just type your question in the chat, Patrick. I don't want to talk to you.
You're Jewish. Wait, you're Jewish Argentine?
Yeah.
Interesting. What do you think about Javier Milei?
Who? Are you talking about the president?
Yeah, the
I
president.
actually know nothing about him. I have no idea.
Well, he's a Jewish Argentine, so it's just like you for real.
I mean, we're the same person. I'm actually the president of Argentina.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew that.
The Jewish
Like, I
hand
put on
cap.
the suit. Someone really wants to talk to me. Be very careful in what you say next.
Yeah, no, I'll be absolutely cordial. So,
Great.
on the topic, yeah, my mic might be fucked up, but on the topic.
Wait. What race are you before you speak?
I must admit, I'm pure Caucasian.
Pure Caucasian?
I'm pure Caucasian, milk drinker, Indo-Aryan heritage. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
You know.
Okay.
You know, but anyway, so would you not deny that, you know, sort of the black experience is like a unique realm of knowledge that sort of only like a black person, you know, living through their life can understand and experience?
Yeah, I think that's actually a great question. I would say the black experience is real and it's very different based on the color of their skin, but I think that's different from race. I think it's more about ethnicity.
Right. But so what you're saying is you want to destroy this sort of realm of knowledge and this experience by allowing for interracial marriage.
No,
because
I
of an
never said that.
ethno-nationalist empire. You know,
Yeah, I never said that.
but this is going to be a consequence of sort of not allowing ethnic
Yeah, but I never
nationalism.
said that.
You know, this is just sort of something you're doing is epistemic violence, right?
Yeah, but I never said that.
You never said it, but you implied it through your opposal of, you know, ethnic.
No, that's you inferring. That's you making conclusions. I don't know if your arm hurts from reaching so far.
Well,
but
no, I have a very
I'm not gonna
long
gaslit.
reach actually, so it doesn't hurt. But thank you. You know, it's called inductive reasoning.
Bobo, do you think America should have open borders?
No,
Do you think Israel should have open borders?
no, I don't think any country should have open borders.
Interesting.
Okay,
It's no argument.
thanks.
What do you think about Indian people?
What do you mean, what do I think about Indian people?
What are your thoughts?
I think they're cool.
Mm-mm.
One of my best friends is Indian.
What do you think about like the lack of toiletries in India? Do you think that's a problem?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't think that's a facet of being Indian. I think it's different. Like, if they don't have toiletries, it's because they're poor. It's not because they're Indian.
Get yourself together. What are you talking about, Eco? Tell BB to let me up. Who's
Yeah,
BB?
why are they poor? That's like
Oh,
a
they're calling you
really
BB.
long discussion that we're gonna have.
You're
Fine,
BB
I'll
now
look them up.
because you're Jewish. Like
Fine,
BB
fine.
Netanyahu.
Yeah, okay. First of all, dude, Indians stink like really bad, okay? And
First of all, let me tell you something about them Indians.
Like, what the fuck? Landon, I'm questioning you. Yeah, Patrick is right. We went from satire racism to real racism.
Now let's actually talk about the
My
French
Indian
race,
friend,
okay?
right?
Because-
He smells really good. So I don't think it's all Indians that smell bad.
Wait, Bobo, if you could drop a nuclear bomb on any populated city in the world, which one would it be?
I'm thinking. Probably like some city in Ohio.
Like Columbus?
Yeah, sure.
Damn, it's because it's like such a high black population there, or was that out
No.
of consideration?
You probably have arm cramps. That was a really
Can
far
somebody
reach.
please pull up the the demographics for
Yeah,
Columbus,
it's not because they're
Ohio?
black, it's
In the
because
chat.
it's Ohio. And it would be funny.
He just says North Korea. I don't think that's a city.
Yeah.
What's the city called in North Korea? Like the capital city, like Pyongyang, Ping Pong, something
Pyongyang.
like that.
Pyongyang.
Pyongyang. Ooh, black or African American, 29%, almost 30%. That's above average in America. That's why you want to bomb Columbus. It all makes sense.
Oh my god, where are the... I don't know why it's taking so long. Like, I don't think the debate was that complicated. To be honest.
They're just circle jerking now.
No, because they're all like pseudo-intellectual.
Victoria's like, we make her lose because she made me lose. And the others are like, no.
I will ask though, can we like move away from the racism though? Like, let's talk about something else.
All right, no more racism talk. Why do you people in the chat keep bringing up race? What the hell? You heard her. Don't bring it up.
Now Liam's in the judge VC.
Wait, bring
we
Landon
go.
up. Landon, come up.
Here
Landon,
we go.
I need to tell you something. Where is he?
Hold on. Give me 1 second.
Landon, I know you hear where are you? There, you're right there. You're right there at the top. Get in here. Fucking liberal.
Yeah, I joined to tell them to hurry
I
up
can't
and
come up.
also that they shouldn't have outside input. It should be just them.
Fucking liar. Landon, you're a liar. All right, well, I'll say it anyways. All right. I went out to 6th Street with Landon in Austin, Texas.
Yeah,
Guess
I don't know
what?
why Divinity is there.
Guess what? 0 bitches. 0. Landon like, oh, bro, guess what? I pick up so many women. Bro, 0. 0. He's a fraud.
Princess Leia, I don't know what the
Don't
fuck. I'm
call
not
them that.
serious.
Holy
I
shit,
think I meant to
Patrick,
ask someone
please.
else. I don't know what. Okay. Yeah.
Don't call them that, all caps.
God.
Is this guy bothering you?
Oh, I think they're done.
All right.
Hold on. Let me put
Sup,
K up.
nigga?
Wait, Crispy, come up.
Yeah.
I know that half
Okay.
the people have left, so it takes so long.
We spent like so
It was a
long.
long
It
debate.
was very difficult actually, and there was a lot of stuff we wanted to go over. So
You guys bring points, man. We had to go over 'em.
We considered pretty much everything that we could.
Yeah, and it was not
Down
easy.
Before you say anything, just look at side chat really quick. Hold on.
Why is there a cash app?
Before you say anything, just remember, number 1, I love women. Number 2, I love all minorities.
Just look at the
And I
poll.
hate
Hold
Hitler.
on. Really quick. Really quick.
Bro, why are you trying to sway the results?
Okay, now you can talk.
We've already decided, so it's not like.
If you don't vote for me, you love Hitler.
Well, how do you want to go over this? Do you want to go over some of your notes, Crispy, or?
Sure, yeah. These are things that I wrote down with response to vague discussion points of what we were hitting on as we went through the debate. Not all the judges might agree with these, but I think generally most of us do. Bobo seemed to fare better in speeches and closing, where Ben seemed to fare better in cross-examination with regards to rhetoric. Bobo's sources were better prepared. She spoke better. She was generally more prepared. Ben fared better in terms of the intuitive force of his points in supporting his position. That's sort of just with regards to rhetoric, pretty much just from the stuff that happened during cross-examination. There was a lot of points to go over and how they all closed out. I don't want to rehash all of them, but I'm sure the other judges will have something to say on a lot of them. It was pretty tit for tat in that regard. The margins were very slim. I think most of us agreed. I also thought Bo's closing was more well-structured. A few points were brought up in closing remarks that we think should have been brought up earlier. There weren't really adequate chances to respond to them. Would have been more beneficial if a lot of different things were done differently, but it is what it is. So by a slim margin, I'm voting for Bobo.
Okay. Detroit, you want to go and then I'll go last.
Sure. Yeah. So I agree with a lot of what Crispy said there. I will just bring up a couple things. A couple of issues I had. Yeah. So a couple of points that where Ben came off a bit better. Again, this persistence on this point about how he's conceding that like not all lower IQ people are politically less informed or capable of making or less capable of making political decisions. Did not look good. I thought his response to that was fair. He's not making a general claim. Now, where that became a question was at the end of her second cross-examination, so I didn't really, wasn't really explored any further. The point about something they brought up in the closing, I would have liked more discussion about the cat V earlier on. That seemed like a relevant bit of data to discuss. But yeah, it is,
Yeah, that
it
was
is a
my
point.
bad.
Anyway, yeah. And I'm bringing up negative things about Bobo, although I did actually end up voting for Bobo. So it is what it is. But I am bringing up some of the negative things before I say why I thought overall you did better. I did not like how the point about Obama just seemed like a mistaken reasoning. He wasn't
Yeah, that
he
was a
wasn't a
mistake.
consequence of his view. Yeah.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie.
And
I was laughing out loud
Yeah,
when
that
she
was a
brought up
really bad
Obama.
argument. I
Yeah,
meant
yeah.
to say
fucking
something
Yeah,
funny.
completely different.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
the funniest
And
shit.
Yeah, I meant
and
to
I
say
did
something
not
totally
like
different.
yeah, it just seemed like what? It's not like it's a consequence that like every minority would be prohibited from voting or something like that. And I didn't like when you didn't engage the hypothetical. I felt like even if it's unrealistic, he's like trying to engage which would you prefer in that situation. But regardless, those were some of my major concerns about the some things that Bobo said. But on the whole, I thought your content was better. Especially the stuff about the biases of IQ testing. I thought your stuff was better sourced and supported. And the stuff that he said, yeah, he referenced a couple things about the twin studies and that there could be a sort of the explanation could be going the other direction, but didn't source anything directly or provide a lot of support against that. So I thought you came out better on those issues. The amendment stuff and other stuff about specific to the U.S. Laws was a bit unclear. I guess the stuff about the 14th Amendment was sort of hinging on the point about whether IQ tests, in fact, have a racial or cultural bias. But insofar as that's supported, then that's a further point in your favor. And then, yeah, maybe a lot more should have been focused on this just weighing of values relevant here. So the pragmatic stuff, and then as well just other general values people might have directly relevant to policies and minorities and stuff. So that point you brought up about how, yeah, okay, even if this is something that has instrumental value for achieving certain societal aims, well, there's a consequence for regarding minorities here, and people tend to care about minorities, and that's a negative consequence. So maybe that point could have been developed a bit further, but I thought it was a decent point on its own, and I don't think Ben had much to say about that except in his closing when he said, you know, a couple of minorities or 75 IQ black ladies don't get to vote. Boo hoo! I thought that was not didn't look very good. So yeah, I mean, I could go through a bunch of other things, but I'll end my comments there unless people want to talk more about it. I ended up voting in the end for Bobo, but I thought it was pretty close. It was not an easy decision, and you both did well on a lot of things, and I think you both did poorly on some things, but that's where I'm concluding there.
I want to formally apologize to everyone for my Obama argument.
Well,
Bro, the Obama I legitimately was laughing out loud. That was the funniest thing I've
I
heard.
literally
the
looked up
entire
and I
night.
silly said, like, what?
Yeah, I like completely meant to say something else. It was just heat of the moment, and I like had to just keep going.
well, yeah. I think I generally agree with what both of the judges have said. Given the proposition, the United States government should implement IQ testing as a requirement for voting in presidential elections. I think the sort of burdens of proof that Bobo laid out initially in her opening statement, I think was pretty strong. It was also in alignment with the proposition. She laid on Prax that he has to prove that IQ as a voter requirement would actually be in alignment with like political values or general interests that people have, and that it's a good gauge for political education, and that it provides unique solvency or the best option. I think Prax did a good job sort of combating that in the cross section, but I don't think that Prax did a good job addressing sort of the problems that Bobo was raising when it comes to the IQ testing itself and how that discriminates against like certain demographics of people. I think you had a really, really strong body of evidence to sort of corroborate that claim. And then you also talked about how IQ tests are culturally biased, and how they fail to sort of address the diversity of problem-solving skills across different cultures. I also like the fact that you even expounded on that and you further supported how malnutrition in POC communities can actually impair brain function, which can ultimately lead to like lower IQ scores. I didn't really hear Prax really engage too much with that point. Now, when it comes to Prax's opening statement, I like what you said about how the electorate tends to vote for like some optimal policies. You made a point there. You started talking about like instrumental pragmatism. You also made some points about how people generally tend to be like really misinformed about congressional candidates and how a lot of people mistakenly believe that we can actually reduce the budget deficit. I think you said something about how most people don't even know how much we spend on Social Security. And I think you also mentioned that about 40% of people don't even know who fought in World War II. You just so those examples sort of corroborated your point about how voters tend to be uneducated when it comes to like voting policies. I think you also made some points in your opening statement about how more intelligent people tend to do what's more moral and that they tend to have less biases. The reason why I was leaning more towards Bobo here is because I think that you failed to sort of show the correlation between like more intelligent people and doing what's more moral. I think Bobo could have probably pressed back a little bit on that, but you guys kind of skipped over that, which is fine. Now, as far as the overall debate, I think Bobo overall supported her position, with more corroborating evidence. And then one thing that I wasn't really a huge fan of that Prax did was you made some claims that there's a lot of empirical evidence that shows that people with higher IQ tend to have better political views, but that wasn't really shown. I think you made a couple points about how civic tests are prone to bias, and you actually want to use the IQ tests to quote weed out all people who are less intelligent. And I think you also made a claim with intelligence. You said that lower IQ people tend to be politically biased and that higher IQ people tend to not. And then you said, unquote, it's going to cause two Black ladies to not be able to vote because their IQ is 85. Boo hoo, I do not care. I think that point was a little bit of a knock against you, at least optically. So I wasn't really a huge fan of that. And then you also made a claim about like how ethno-nationalism is generally supported by low IQ people. I think Bobo, I think you could have sort of like expanded on that point. Didn't really hear too much evidence for that, but generally, I guess I'll just lean more towards Bobo because overall, I think she sort of established the conclusion that we should not implement IQ testing as a requirement for voting, given all these relevant factors and body of evidence.
Good job, Ben.
Just for the record, that exact quote, that's going to be the title of my autobiography. So that's upcoming.
Yeah, but
man.
I think I
But
speak
yeah,
all of us.
good job, Bobo. I'm not
say
going to be a sore loser because I am not Canadian.
No, but it definitely was. It definitely was like not easy though. Like it was close.
Yeah, I think you did a better job than I thought you would do.
Well, I did have like notes to talk about the cultural bias stuff. I probably should have deferred to that instead of, I don't know. I thought it would be more simple to point out like the reverse causation, but a lot of people brought up that point as like a big one that was a knock against me. So I probably should have gone more into the empirical stuff. But whatever, I'll keep that in mind in the future.
I
No,
wouldn't
it
do
wasn't
that,
it
Ben.
was a
If
major
someone
point,
said
right?
that to me, Ben, I mean, I'd be like, you did better than I expected.
I didn't mean that as an insult. I meant as in like I was impressed.
It was giving shady. I mean, is what it is.
I know it was giving
I
shady,
mean, it was
but
sort
I
of a
didn't
major
mean it
point
to
of
be shady.
contention. It was a major point of contention, whether the IQ tests are biased or reliable or something. So, yeah,
Agree.
that-
Agree. I think that was like the whole crux of the debate is because if they're not, then of course, I mean, it would be a good, thing to implement. But
Oh,
if they are not,
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say crux, but it is a major issue. Yeah.
I appreciate you guys for judging. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No problem.
No problem.
Shut the fuck up, Julie.
I hope you guys had fun. I hope it wasn't too stressful.
Oh, I'm not stressed. I'm good.
That was good. You guys made a lot of points, so that was a little bit stressful. but that
Oh
was
wait, just to make it clear, I give my 3/5 of vote to Ben.